Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for this talk by Evgeny Kot. Evgeny has been a front-end developer and a public speaker for many years. He is a co-organizer of HolyJS conference, and he's also a Dart, Flutter, and Web Google developer expert. Finally, he is currently the director of development at Wrike. Evgeny, welcome.
Hi, Florence. Thanks for this introduction. And looks like, yeah, I'm ready to present. I'm in the show, so you can make me a full screen, and yeah, it will be awesome because I have outstanding layout. I can change my layout and my slides. Hi, everyone. Let's start. And by the way, talking to your camera and sitting in your room is kind of like schizophrenia, because part of my brain saying, hey, you just sitting in your office, and other part of my brain saying that, hey, a lot of people, well, not a lot, but some people watching you. So if my jokes or something that I say force you, or you feel the feeling to express something in chat, please do this, because I will understand that you are alive and I alive, and we are all together. So probably we shall begin, right? And let me introduce myself, because right now something completely different. And hi, my name is Evgeny Kot. Yeah, that's me. Where is that? It's here. And this is most interesting fact about me, because my last name in Russian means cat. Kot, cat. Yeah, it's nice. So I'm Google developer expert, 16 years in tech field, GDE, C++, C#, JavaScript, whatever, Dart. And also, yeah, looks like my green screen is a little bit too green for this, so it should look like this. So I'm director of development in Wrike company, a really nice company. And last but not least, after 16 years in IT, I decided that, well, probably I should learn something more. And I not switched, but right now I'm getting second degree in psychology. And this is kind of relevant to the talk, to the topic of the talk. So R&D, research and development. And today we're going to talk about R&D, but from a little bit different perspective. And one huge, enormous alert or note that everything that I would say today, I would say this is completely my opinion. This is highly opinionated and subjective. And second thing is that everything I would say today is mostly related to countries. I don't like this like first world countries or second world countries. I'm from Russia, and most probably everything that I would say today related to this like countries, Belarus, Russia, Ukraine, Kazakhstan, and countries around, because this is my experience and we have only our experience. So yeah, and every time I would say our countries, it means like countries like that. And by the way, about first world and other things, this is really nice article. Probably, yeah, link is a little bit smaller than I thought, but yeah, you actually can Google just if you shouldn't call it the third world, so what should you call it? So yeah, as I said, I was born in Russia, and I love Russia because we have so many memes about that. Of course, some Gopnik memes, gargoyles in France like this, and in Russia. But frankly speaking, life, I would say that Russia is not the most colorful country in the world. From all the perspective, from financial perspective, and from some other perspectives. But and you may say, well, it's not black and white. Of course, Russia is big, and our countries are big, and life is more colorful than you think. Yeah, of course, this picture is more colorful. Hopefully, this one is better. But and let's talk a little bit about R&D or tech or IT in our countries. And biggest advantage that we have in our field, in our tech, I don't know how to call it, IT, tech, STEM, whatever, something related to computer and computers. So biggest advantage, of course, is the, sorry for Russian slides, but this is the medium salary for in IT, in tech field in Russia, according to research for the second half of 2021. And this is $2,000 US American dollars per month, which is pretty nice considering that medium salary in whole Russia is $500. And actually, tech field is bringing more and more attention these days, not only because of the money, but of course, money is great, but because this area, this field is full of interesting people. It's well, I would not say it's easier, but again, it's not working in the fields or something like that. And because of that, we have more and more courses. Courses like that. Again, sorry for Russian slide, but they offer sometimes, not sometimes, they offer like after half a year, you will get a salary of 80,000 rubles. It's something about 1,000 US dollars, so a little bit more. And it's not really complicated. You just learn a little bit, then bam, you have a profit. You have a really modern profession. You have skills. You have everything you need, and that's it. I would say that this point of view is a little bit optimistic. And you know this, learn a little bit is way too optimistic about a little bit. But again, in my today's talk, I would like to balance this more like a color rose point of view. Color rose, how do you call them in English? We have them pink glasses, but yeah, it's color rose glasses with slightly less colorful vision. And let me specify, I'm not, I don't want to be a grumpy guy with some years of experience, but I believe that we should we should view our industry in more, I would say, in more clear and sober eyes, at least for me. And I would say that our industry R&D is not run, English. So our industry is not research and development sometimes, and is run and die. But stick with me, not everything is bad. At the end, we will have some advices how to work with that. And let me tell you a story. So because I'm studying psychology and I have some experience in management and other stuff, so I'm giving consultations and a little bit coaching, a little bit of mentoring. And one story. One guy came to me, one client, saying like, Zhenya, I don't feel well because actually right now I have 2 jobs. And I work pretty hard. Last couple of years, I don't have vacations. I don't have day off. I have 2 jobs and full-time jobs, and actually I have my a side projects. And yeah, I don't feel very well. I said, okay, this sounds pretty hard. So how can I help you? And he responded, I feel like anxiety. I feel that I burnt out. I feel that I fear of the future. I have panic attacks. My hands are shaking. And okay, how can I help you? He answered, Zhenya, so maybe I should switch to data science. And I said, yeah, most probably you should switch to data science. And my point is that even though you can be a super senior, you can be really, not powerful, but thoughtful, everything about yourself. You have a shields against burning out. You have, you go to therapy and other stuff. My point, and if you disagree, please let me know in comment or in the Q&A session. I think that there are 4 problems in our tech industry that will burn you out. Even though you can be aware of them and not aware of them, those 4 horses of apocalypse, horsemen, not horses, will burn you out. And they are business, and probably you can see that it's business. It's cult of growth, technology and involvement. So let's talk about each of them. And yeah, let's start from the business. And as you can see, I have prepared, so I have some of the effects. So business. Just imagine the situation. You're sitting in your office, in your room, and, well, you're sitting somewhere these days at your home, and your manager comes to you saying, you know, Evgeny, that's we need to complete this task ASAP. You should work on a weekend. And you're gonna be like, clients need it, right? Right? Clients need it, right? And sometimes we think that top managers or business owners or business in general or companies, they know everything about it. And if they need something, it's totally urgent. And of course, they know what they ask. But in the outstanding book by Fons Trompernas, 100 plus management models, he is giving some example of that on that. And there is another scientist called Henry Mintzberg. He is really outstanding. Read his books about management. And in his researches, Henry Mintzberg found out that top managers were not spending their time like rearranging troops, thinking about maneuvers and this battle like military. How do you call them? Like generals, like top managers. No, the top managers spent most of their working hours dealing with urgent issues, closing unexpected problems, and adjusting to new conditions. So they kind of running around in circles, were burning asses, and trying to set down the fire. And just imagine, I need some dramatic music here. So just imagine, we have the field, the huge field. And, you know, this like a metaphor is that not metaphor, but phrase that as a manager or as a developers, we should keep train on rails. So just imagine this field, the distant clouds and huge, enormous, colossal trains on wheels, of course, because there are no rails in the desert. They're running, they're enormous. They're running and they ride through this desert, and they collapsing, they burning, they full of I don't know. There are like explosions, and those trains, they are businesses, and market super competing, and they running in supersonic speed. And if you think, what is the fuel for these trains, for these business trains? And if you think that this is gasoline or diesel or, I don't know, some coal, it's not true. The true fuel for these trains are the people. I need some like, I don't have exact sound effects, but something scary. But just imagine they're running around, and the business is always forcing and pushing and really demanding. And there is one more problem. Like our problem. Brief history of engineering, and I will start from 19th century, and sorry kids, it will not be history lesson, but let's start from the history of engineering in our countries like Russia, Belarus, Ukraine, and other countries. So at the end of the 19th century, engineering and engineers were pretty, I would say, noble profession. It was really, how to say, only super experienced people would call themselves engineers, because, well, it's obvious. If half of the country cannot read and other half of the country cannot write and third half of the country cannot do both, engineers are some privileged profession. But if you played Death Stranding game, there is a narrative about once there was an explosion, the bank that gave the birth to humanity or to life, whatever. And in our history, there were two explosions. And first explosion was, of course, Bolsheviks. And stay with me; it's really important for the topic of my talk. So, you know that Bolsheviks were not, their opinion on something noble, actually. And after the revolution, engineers were not that noble. And there are some posters during that era, and I will translate it for you. This grumpy gentleman giving a lamp and saying, "Here is your lamp, товарищ, comrade engineer. Go from office to the field, to the shaft." And it was a common treatment, or how do you call it? Common thing that engineers were too far from the ground and from the workers, so they were treated as like do some business. Or this pretty muscular, pretty buffed guy saying like, "The fuck, I need some accent. The factory awaits you, engineer." So yeah, after the Second World War and this during the Cold Era, engineers were just ordinary people. Well, engineering was a nice profession, nice area. Not that you are working in really hard on the factory, but still, it was something okay-ish. And then came second explosion, perestroika, and the collapse of Soviet Union, when the engineers were wiped off second time. And it's connected to business actually, because this old tradition of engineering. In some countries, it wasn't somehow. It's continuing from that ages. At least in Russia and all countries around, business started from the beginning, and of course the market is competing, and it means that we are, as engineers, we are well, not the first generation of engineers, but still people who was born in 90s. They experienced the same. Engineering was wiped off, and now we should run to keep this train on rails. So this was a first horseman of apocalypse. And the second is the cult of growth. Again, sorry for this thing. Okay, doesn't matter. You shouldn't read this, I would say it. The cult of growth. Just imagine other situation. You're sitting in your office and doing some stuff, and then, bam, you have some invitation in your calendar, something like this. We have to talk, a small talk. And with the three guests, your boss, your HR business partner, and you. And you're like, okay. Then you go to meeting room, or I don't know, to Zoom meeting. And then your boss telling you, Zhenya, let's talk about your growth. And you'll be like, and what's wrong with my growth? Sorry. And the big question you can ask here, and why should I grow? Like if the business or managers, if they ask, okay, so what about your growth? You should grow. And big question, why should I grow? Of course, it's kind of dangerous question, I would say. And your manager can be like, listen here, and I can understand why business wants this continuous growth of developers, of the employees, because it's better to have familiars instead of imps. Yeah, this is imps and this is familiars. And if you get this reference, please say something in chat. And okay, this is from Heroes, Might and Magic number 3. And I can understand why business needs it, but why should I grow? And to make it clear, I'm not against, and of course I think that this constant growth should be in the companies because we're adapting to market. But there are two points of view on that. One from the business perspective, from the management perspective, and I believe yes, the constant growth is really important. And on the other hand, as a employee, sometimes we can be really tired of constant growth, of this constant competition, of constant feeling that tomorrow I should be slightly or really better than I was before, and this run can exhaust you pretty well. And it was second. Where's the second horseman of apocalypse? Yeah. And the third one, of course, and this is the most kind of obvious one, the technologies. we are, as a developers or people in tech field, we can experience this every day. And I believe that we are coming to technological singularity. What is that? It's the hypothetical point in time at which technological growth becomes uncontrollable and irreversible. You can say, Zhenya, you know, like everything is good with the technologies. I love this, what's going on with that. It's really nice what's going on with the technologies. But let's take a look at the front end, at the JavaScript. You know, this grumpy hippo comics, like let's screw things up so that nobody else can understand JavaScript, nobody. If you ever tried to build a JavaScript project or web project in general, it wasn't like this, like it was 16 years ago. Now it's more complicated, and you should know about Kubernetes, you should know about Docker, you should know about Webpack and other things to build your project. It's not HTML, CSS. And it's happening in many other areas, not only web. So we should run, and if you say, okay, I don't care about technologies anymore, I would stick to, let's say, I'm good with my COBOL or Fortran or C, pure C. I don't care about these modern technologies. Probably people from courses will, at some point, will prove you wrong. And let's move on. And last but not least, horseman of apocalypse is involvement. Let's imagine other situation. You go to the interview, and interviewer or recruiter ask you, okay, so why would you like to join our company? And you would answer, you know what? I don't care about your values, about everything, about motivation. I'm here for the money. Probably, most probably, this is the wrong answer. And in our industry, in something that's going on in our how to say, in our areas, the motivation is the crucial fact. And again, don't think that I'm kind of man who say, okay, business is business, and yeah, you don't need motivation, just give some results. Motivation is really important for us, and we should be motivated. But sometimes some of the companies, in some of the areas, in the business areas, we're forced to love our job. Again, maybe it's not true for everything and everyone, but this we tie it to our motivation. And if you are not motivated enough, and you would say, well, I'm here only for the money, I don't care much about everything else, probably this is the wrong answer. And it can give you a frustration when you have to pretend that you love your job. And by the way, about pretending is always is not a good thing, right? And pretending can be produce frustration. And there is one thing to detect your frustration is a Rosenzweig picture frustration test. And actually you just feel empty bubbles and imagine that how you will work in this situation. And yeah, there are some cards like, we don't accept credit cards, how you will answer. And you will get bonus points if you don't use swear words here. Or for example, let's walk, it's not that cold. Or for example, dude, they forgot to draw my face. Well, I'm just kidding. There are no, there is no cards like that. So as a result, what's the conclusion about that? All this horsemen of apocalypse, whatever, I would say it's like evolution. Lamarck said evolution is a movement towards human perfection. And Darwin said, adapt or die. So as a result, first of all, business tech field is always running. I don't know any business that say, okay, we don't care much about profits, about cost, about our speed. We will just sit there and just do some work. Yeah, of course, there are some different companies, but still business is always running. Second thing is that we are kind of forced to grow. You cannot just say, hey, I'm good with that. I don't want to grow anymore. I don't want to compete. I don't want this performance reviews. I don't want this kind of one-to-ones on other things. This is, and I'm not pessimistic in that matter. I just think that sometimes it's kind of cargo cult. We follow these mantras of super performance and super productivity, but do we really need it? Of course, technologies, they force you to learn new frameworks and new things. And the last one, of course, is motivation. And you can ask, okay, so what can I do? Because it looks like this is pretty harmful situation. I'm burning out, and what can I do? And of course, in 30 minutes, it's not possible to answer this question. People spending years to understand what can I do with the professional burnout and how to deal with this industry. But you can ask yourself 4 simple questions. First, have I reached the valley? And you can ask, what's the valley? This kind of valley. And this is the valley of shadow of death. Well, it's a kind of poetic name, but it's not like that. So just imagine you have, let me hide myself. So it's like power and time. We have graph, and your career is growing. You were a junior developer, then middle, then whatever, team leader, manager, director, and it's something like this. But sometimes it's more like that. But I believe that in some point of your career, your life is, well, the more you spend on work, the less you have life, actual life. And sorry, I'm trying to read the chat at the same period. So your life is going down and your work is going up. At the some period, you will reach the point where you're good to go. If you follow this path, you will lose more life than you wish. You will get more rewards or whatever, money or something, but you will reach out the bottom of the valley. And you should ask yourself, am I there? Am I good? Would I like to grow more or not? Second question is, where does the business run? If your manager ask you, hey, could you please work on a weekend? Is this actually crucial? Where are we running? Is it how my overtime will help for the business? Third question is, should I learn this? Actually, if you read some outstanding article about new molecular JS or, I don't know, some bacon JS, actually, this is the thing. Probably you shouldn't learn this right now, or should you? Because you can run out of the battery and don't feel that. And last one, when do I leave work? Because you're leaving your work not at the point when you close your laptop, when you stop working in your brain, because I saw many people stop it, I don't know, in the middle of the night. And probably asking yourself those questions, you will continue to understanding what's going on inside your brain and with your life. It was a quick rush from my side. Thank you very much. And this is the end. And if you like this and you would like to ask some questions, follow me on Twitter. I think that's it from my side. 1 minute till the end.
Thank you so much. That was very interesting, and I really love the energy and the slides. Was very nice and descriptive as well, and I learned a lot. So thank you so much for your time today. And yeah, I look forward to connecting as well on Twitter and asking more questions about Russia and the different developments.
Yeah, thank you very much, Flo. And by the way, we have a special chat. Please join me, and I will be there for the next, I don't know, couple of hours. Depends on the questions.
Absolutely, yes. And actually, let me see if we have a slide just for the special chat. No, we don't. But yeah, the slide is in the description of the YouTube links as well. So if you do not have the link yet, you can go and check it there. And finally, I am just going to share the feedback form So if anyone wants to get a chance to win one of our prizes, feel free to go fill this feedback form. We would love to hear from you what you thought about this talk and the rest of the event. Thank you.